Good morning, New Bethesda family, and anybody else that may be watching. I'm glad that we still have opportunities to do things like this, since many of you probably like me are at home right now. And so I wanted to take the opportunity just to share a few thoughts with you this morning. And those come from Luke chapter 5. And so in Luke chapter 5, Jesus is teaching by a lake, and the crowd, they're pressing in on him, and so he's with some fishermen, and so he gets them to place him in a boat, and they paddle a little ways out into the lake, and Jesus then teaches from the boat. And Peter and his brothers and James and John are there. They're all fishermen, and so Jesus says to Peter, cast out your nets, or cast down your nets, and you'll catch fish. Now remember, Peter is a fisherman. This is his career. He knows all the ins and outs of being a fisherman, and this is how Peter replies to Jesus' statement about throwing down his nets. Peter says in Luke 5:5, "Master," Simon replied, "we have worked hard all night long and caught nothing. But if you say so, we'll throw down our nets." And so, I think very characteristic of Peter. He's willing to do what Jesus says, but he also kind of has to throw in there, hey, Jesus, we've worked hard all night and we've not caught anything. Like, this is not the right time to catch fish. And surely, for fishermen then, many of them, they fished during the night. That was the right time to catch fish. They fished all night, and whatever they caught, they would tend to it and work it up the next morning, tend to their nets in the morning. The morning was not the right time to catch fish. But this is when Jesus said to cast out their nets. And so what happens? They throw out their nets and they begin to haul in fish. So many fish that the nets of this one little boat are beginning to break, and so they call another boat over and they're helping each other. And it's still so many fish that these two boats are starting to sink. They received such an abundance that it was overflowing out of the boats. And I can't help but wonder if this fits our time right now. Many of us, when presented with the idea of continuing on in our faith and pursuing our faith and growing and the church growing, we may feel like, Lord, this is not the right time. Have you not seen what's going on around us with coronavirus and this epidemic and food and toilet paper shortages? Lord, this is not the right time. I'm isolated from my church. I'm isolated from other people. This is not the right time. But I can't help but wonder if Jesus is saying to us, throw down your nets. Throw down your nets anyway. Maybe this is the time for us to throw down our nets and recommit ourselves to prayer and reading the Bible. Maybe this is the time for us to throw down our nets and continue reaching out and calling each other and reaching out to those that we know need the hope of Jesus. It may not be a face-to-face conversation, but maybe Jesus is asking us to throw down our nets and call that person who needs the hope of Jesus. So I want to encourage you this morning that even though it may not feel like the right time, to still throw down your net, to still pursue your faith, pursue your callings, to still hope in Jesus during this time. And who knows? Maybe what we'll see as we begin to continue to pursue Him in faith, will receive abundance, even in times such as these.